you go. Lovely clean 22-pound mirror. We're over on Alsons on the Stanwick fisheries. Got here yesterday, me and Matt had a good walk round, located a group of fish. Not knowing what the lake's like as such, first time we've been here, decided the solid bag approach was the way to go. After having a little lead around, I always like to find a little spot or a little clearing to put the solids in. It's not very deep, so after having a plumb around, we found some little areas, a couple of solid bags, and this one rattled off this morning. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the approach and how I've been and why I've been using solid bags. We're going to slip this one back, hopefully there's more to come, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about how we're approaching and what we're doing. Happy days. Right, we're on Stanwick fisheries, and I'm going to break down why I'm using the solid bag today. So we're over on Alsons Lake, never fished here before. So after a good walk round, we found a group of fish fizzing away, you know, looked like they was in the weed, you know, having a good old feed. So decided on 2 swims in a bowl sort of area, give us a nice bit of water to fish. So we decided on that. After having a little lead around, it is quite weedy. You know, there was nothing really that was unfishable, so that was good. But I always like to try and find something, you know, like there's always maybe a little hole or where the fish have been digging down in the weed and rooting to try and get some natural food. So I always like to try and flick a little lead out and just find that little clear area amongst the weed. Even though I'm using a solid bag, it'd probably sit there for a little while and be fishing. I want the solid bag to be fishing for longer. So that's the reason that I'm trying to find those little clearings. If you look here, there's a little bit of weed that I dragged in. It's full of natural food. You know, you don't need to put a lot of bait in. I think sort of like trying to fish a bit of hemp, bit of crushed boilie maybe, but you don't need to use a lot, and that sat on top of there is just the perfect amount for a bite. So that's why I'm using this approach, and it's done well for me this morning. I had a nice 22-pound mirror, so hopefully we get a few more. So I could have gone with other rigs, you know, I could have used a hinge stiff, but with the low-lying weed, I just thought the solid bag was a perfect approach. You know, it's going to sit nicely on top of the bed of weed, and you're going to be presenting, the hook bait's going to be clean. You know, it's a perfect parcel of bait for any fish that's feeding in the natural, or trying to get the natural food out of the weed, and they come across the bag and it's all set ready for a bite. The solid bag's perfect for this venue, but it might not be the one for other venues. You've got to take that into consideration. On here it's low-lying weed, and that just sits there lovely on top of the weed. But say if I was to find a nice clear area, a nice gravel spot as such, my rig choice totally changes. You've almost got to let the lake bed tell you which rig to use. If you can make it as natural as possible, perfect. That's the way you want to go. If I was to fish gravel, it'd be a bottom bait or a wafter. If, like I said, low-lying weed, the solid bag's perfect, or a little hinge stiff, slowly sink it down onto the weed. And I find that's the best approach. So another really good reason I'm using the solid bags is when we got here first, there was a lot of fizzing going on. and it's a perfect way to get a bit of bait out there quick and a rig, and know that you're fishing as such. As I say, as such, because you never know how deep it is really. I know you always feel it down and try and get a gist of how far it's gone into the weed and stuff like that, but you're always guessing. But it is a really good way to be fishing quickly onto sort of like fizzing fish. Right, hook bait choice. For me, on this session, 2 grains of corn is perfect. I'm not feeding a lot of bait. When the package is down there, I want them to be feeding around it, you know, and then they're going to come across those 2 grains of corn. It's the biggest particle that I've got in the bag, so when they're feeding around it, they're going to see it and they're going to want to try and have it. Basically, there's no way they're not going to. Something's going to go for it. So I don't like to use big baits in bags. I just don't feel like it looks natural enough, or I just think it might be a bit too obvious. So I always like to keep things really small. Wafter works really well, a little 12mm wafter. Like I said, 2 grains of corn is perfect, or a grain of corn even. So yeah, that's the way I like to approach it. Right, so if you want to learn how to tie a solid bag rig, head over to Total Carp YouTube channel, and Joe will show you through all the bits and pieces you need and how to tie it. But I'm going to get this one back out there. There's fish fizzing up everywhere, so hopefully time for some more.